Hi everyone, I'm Justin. I have to go to school every day with two bodyguards. It sounds pretty cool when I say that, but when you find out what happened to me, you'll see. It's not exactly something that you want for yourself. My dad has been a truck driver for years. He flew around the whole country. We only see him for 4 or 5 days a month at most. Even though we barely spend time together, we had this strong bond on the days when he was home. We used to play board games together, and Dad would always give my sister or myself the upper hand. Those were my favorite days. We had a great time as a family. I was content both at home and at school. I believe that is due to the fact that I had the best group of friends in the city. I've known Matt, Jamie, and Chris since kindergarten. I attended the same schools and made a pledge to each other that we would stay together until the end of high school. Matt's family relocated to another city last year, but Matt persuaded them to let him stay with us. He is currently residing with his aunt. Things were looking up until something seemingly nice happened that completely ruined our life. My father has been a lotto player for many years. Occasionally, he would win small prizes. But one day, he hit the jackpot and won the biggest prize in years. So one morning, we woke up as one of the richest family in the city. Many people dream of winning the lottery. My father resigned from his position as a truck driver. We relocated to a nicer neighborhood and will be purchasing a larger home in the future. We were able to purchase everything that we designed. This is good news. On the other hand, many news sites reported on my father's winning the lottery. Everyone knew about the truck driver who became wealthy overnight, and relatives and friends who hadn't seen my parents in years began to visit. But why should we celebrate it with them? Obvious not. Some were direct, while others were less so. But they all looking for money in the midst of the chaos. I was trying to get back to my normal, happy life. I didn't give a damn about the money, the new house, the expensive car, and all of that. My sister began attending a private school. Of course, I didn't change my school. My dad said, "Okay, but at least let my driver take you there." I said, "No, I wanted to take the bus like I used to." The bus stop was 5 minutes walk from the school. One day, I got up at the shop and was walking to school while watching a video on YouTube. I felt like I hit something. I looked up and it was the guy just as I was about to apologize. He grabbed me and dragged me to a zoo that parked nearby. I was so shocked, I couldn't even scream as he was trying to push me in the back seat of the SUV. We heard a siren. Whoever was in the driver's seat of the SUV was obviously a coward. He hit the gas and drove away without waiting for his friend. The other guy was stunned. After a moment of hesitation, he started running towards the SUV. Naturally, the police followed him. They caught the guy in no time. It turned out these guys were criminals. When they found out my dad has won the lottery, they decided to kidnap his son for ransom. They've been following me for days. Finally, they decided to go for it. Thankfully, I was saved by a police car that was passing by. I was curious about how much money they would ask for me, but I could never find out. Naturally, my dad was really worried, and he was right. There could be another person out there who had the same idea. You can't be going to school alone anymore. I'm gonna hire a security company. They will drive you around, he said. What? I would be going to school with my bodyguards, Dad? That's embarrassing, I was about to say. Justin, I don't want to hear about it. We don't have a choice. That same day, two people arrived to our house to meet me, and they didn't let me resist. They appeared to be exactly what you expect bodyguards to look like. Even inside the house, they didn't take off their sunglasses. In charge was a man named Alexander. "Mr. Certain, you must follow some regulations," he said. "What kind of rules?" I asked the first and most important rule. "You can't go anywhere without us." The second rule is, you can only have one person with you at any time at school or outside. I turned to my dad in shock. "What do you mean, Dad? Will my friends take turns to hang out with me?" My dad didn't respond. We will do as you say. We're expecting you at 7 a.m. tomorrow, he said as they left. The following day was one of the most embarrassing days of my life. My father informed the school administration of the kidnapping, and they allowed the bodyguards to enter school for the entire day. The two bodyguards trailed me around everywhere I went, and everyone was watching us. The worst part was that they waited outside the restroom door while I was inside. The night before, I called one of my pals and informed him of the bodyguards. Only one person will be permitted to approach me, I told him. When I saw my buddies at our first meeting the next morning, it was quite sad. I had forgotten about the bodyguards and was ready to approach them when Alexander intervened and stopped me. Chris then came racing up to me on his own. Jamie and Matt had to keep a wary eye on us. We weren't accustomed to this, but there was nothing we could do about it. For a while, we had to play along. It had been nearly a month. I figured I'd get used to it eventually, but that didn't happen. Walking around with security made me feel very uneasy. Worst of all, my friendships with my pals suffered far more than I could have imagined. We used to hang out at school, and then afterward, we go to an abandoned paint factory. It had been empty for years. We call it the Grey Castle. We used to hang out there without anyone bothering us, but now we couldn't see each other at school nor at the Grey Castle. I was so sad to meet Jamie, Chris, and Matt drifting away from me. They were my best friends. I needed to act rapidly to fit my friendship with them. I couldn't hang out with my buddies unless I got rid of the bodyguards. Otherwise, they wouldn't allow me to go. Every day about 4 o'clock, Alexander and the other guy brought me home, stood in front of my house until 6 o'clock, and went. I couldn't wait for their work day to end since it would be too late by then. I decided I would run out through the backyard and go to the Great Castle and surprise my friends. When I came home, I went to my mom holding my head. I told her, "Mom, I have a terrible headache. I'm gonna take a nap. My room is downstairs." As soon as I got in, I've changed my clothes and jumped out to the backyard. The bodyguards were by the front door, so they didn't hear a thing. I took a purse from the other side of the block and rode toward Grey Castle. I think my acting was too good. My mother believed that a severe headache would not be released by taking a nap. With a glass of water and a painkiller, she entered my room. She noticed that I wasn't present. She assumed that I went to the bathroom, but when my sister emerged from the bathroom, they realized I wasn't at home. My mother became scared and allowed the bodyguards to enter. They contacted me first, and when I didn't answer, they called my father. The first thing that sprang to me was that I had been kidnapped. As a result, they decided to call the cops. The police got on it right away and quickly figured out my location to checking the signal for my cell phone. I had actually seen Alexander's call. He must be calling to tell something about tomorrow. I call him when I get back. I thought sometime he'd call and say heavy traffic was suspected for tomorrow morning. Let's leave 15 minutes early or something like that. My plan was to spend a few hours with my friend and came back to my room through the window. But when they realized I was gone, things got crazy. My family and the bodyguards were rightfully worried. Meanwhile, I happily chatting with my friends at the Great Castle, totally unaware of what's going on. I had so much to catch up on since we hadn't seen each other properly for weeks. Suddenly, we heard sirens outside. Then we heard the loudspeaker. "This is the police. You were surrounded. Put your hands up and come out." We looked at each other in shock. What was happening? Was it a hidden camera prank? We walked outdoor and after raising our hands as they instructed, there were cops all over the place. The cops were quickly alert to the situation. I hadn't been kidnapped. While everyone was hurting for me, I dashed off to meet up with my friends. They escorted us to a police station after picking us up from the abandoned factory building. There were my father's, 2 bodyguards, and the families of pawns waiting for us. I was terrified of causing such a ruckus, but Justin was consoled by my father. "I understand, son. This money brought us a lot of good things, but it also brought us a lot of problems," he said. "Dad, I was really happy with my friends. I want to hang out with them," I said. And he put his hand on my shoulder and said, "I'll fix this. I got an idea. I was waiting for you," he said. Do you know what? My dad's brilliant idea was to buy the Grey Castle. Yes, he found the owner of the building, make the guy an offer and turn that place into a playground for us. Then I understood that being rich is not that so bad. After school, the bodyguards take us to the great castle. We finish our homework in the library first because that's condition, and then we do whatever we want to do. Some days we play PlayStation on a giant screen in the game room. Sometimes we have a tournament in the bowling alley, and sometimes we watch a movie in our private screening room. When we play basketball on the court outside, the bodyguards join us as well. By the way, I have to tell you that Alexander can really play. That is my story. I hope you like it. Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to this channel now. Goodbye.